Hello, good evening, assalamu alaikum, namaste, and I welcome all of you in this virtual meet and greet. What a hot day here in Texas. There was also warning extreme heat advisory. So I hope everyone is staying inside, indoors, and it's a good time to be getting together, obviously, with this virtual meet and greet because I'm meeting with a lot of people in person, but obviously there are 250,000 constituents in precinct 3. So I wanted to make sure that I reach out to as many as possible because it's virtually impossible to meet 250,000 constituents in precinct 3. This is Zeeshan. Many of you know me, and some of you may be finding out about me the very first time. So I welcome you all. And let me just share this key agenda for today, so that way we know what we are expecting from myself and what we're expecting, obviously, from each one of you, because it's important that we also keep it very informal because I want to keep it interactive. At the same time, I also would like for you to ask your questions, which we'll do it after a few minutes. And without further ado, let me just share this agenda for today. So we'll start with the greetings. And again, I welcome all of you, and it's a pleasure to obviously meet all of you. And I will also put the link below in terms of how you can also come and join me as a co-host or join directly and ask a question directly, which is fine as well. Or you can just type your questions as we get to the Q&A session on Facebook Live or on YouTube Live. This is also on Twitter Live, so we are obviously broadcasting and taking advantage of technology and social media. And this is all about engagement, voter engagement, and ensuring that when I become your commissioner, God willing, inshallah, I will make sure that I will be everyone's commissioner. We will continue to have a very informed citizenry and informed constituency, especially in precinct 3 as your next commissioner. And today's agenda with regards to the background, why I chose, what are my priorities, and about our future. And then in the end, we'll do the Q&A where you can type your questions directly, like I said, in the comment section on Facebook or also on YouTube. I don't think I'll be able to see Twitter because then there'll be too many screens here as well. And I would encourage you and would request you to just put your questions in Facebook because we're live on Facebook as well as we're live on YouTube. So put your questions there as well. And if those of you who are watching me live on Twitter, I welcome you as well. So that's the idea. And then that's the agenda. And then we'll get to, obviously, let me start with, obviously, our mission statement here, because what are we looking at in terms of precinct 3 and what is my mission, what is our mission? Because this campaign is about us, it's about all of us, it's about our children, about our grandchildren's future. So the commissioner's office, under the guidance of myself, Zeeshan, will provide governance and policy making, proactive emergency management, budget and strategic planning, engaging opportunities, and working hard every day to lower taxes in precinct 3. That's right, you heard it right, lower property taxes, because my property taxes are also going up. And when I get elected as your commissioner, I will lower our property tax rates. And just to give you a very slight example in terms of history, until 1960s in Fort Bend County, the tax rate was about 65, 66 cents, let's say about 60 cents to a dollar. Now it's about 45 cents to a dollar. So imagine it has only been reduced about 15 cents, but the county is growing leaps and bounds, and it's one of the most diverse and one of the fastest growing county in the nation. So why we cannot lower our tax rates? It can be done. And why it can be done, I'll tell you as well, because I have the experience in terms of budget management. I was a director of American Express. I managed $250 million budget. So I know when I go line by line in terms of each budget item, I will make sure that we also find those avenues and at the same time have enough businesses and attract those businesses right in Fort Bend County, so we can also offset some of that tax burden from the property owners to the commercial avenues. And as you know, it's a very affluent county. And we also pride ourselves in terms of our best school districts. So at the same time, Fort Bend ISD schools are the best, and that's why our tax rates also reflect some of that. But that doesn't mean that we cannot lower taxes. We can cap the tax rate. Even if the property values continue to go up, we can still keep a cap and make sure that the tax rates are not going to make you make the house unaffordable for any of our residents, and even especially for our senior citizens as well. So that's a very key agenda item and priority of my um, um, agenda, and one of my key priorities. As you can see on the right hand side of this slide, this is the precinct 3. I know it's hard to see, but it's Sugar Land, it's parts of Missouri City and Stafford. Huge, right? Because the area is very big. I will talk about what commissioners do in a minute. In terms of the milestones right now, the early voting would be next year, February 2024. And as you can understand, we have some time, but some of you know, and many of you, and those who have just joined or maybe meeting with me first time with this virtual meet and greet, I announced my candidacy back on April 12th, 2021. That's right. I think it's one of the longest job interview that I'm doing in my lifetime, and which is great. I love it. I'm meeting so many wonderful people, and I'm making connections with voters, and there's excitement. That's why I'm still going. So I announced my candidacy back on April 12th, 2021, and that's when towards the September or October of 2021, when we found out by the commissioner's court that the precinct maps changed. So then I decided that I will obviously run for Commissioner Precinct 3, because many of us who are now in Precinct 3, we used to be Precinct 4. So I had two choices at that time: either lie, like most of the politicians, I won't say every, there are some good politicians as well, but there are very few leaders. So I don't want to do that, and I didn't do it because it's not the right thing to do. How am I going to fight for everyone if I'm starting something based on a lie? So obviously, I decided not to continue to run in Precinct 4 because the precinct maps changed. And the election now, obviously, in Precinct 3 is going to be the primary, as the Democratic primary, because I'm running as a Democrat, will be in February 2024, and the early voting would be in February, and March 5th, 2024, that would be the election day. And the general elections, that's when the commissioners elect, and keeping my fingers crossed with your trust and support and prayers, and with everyone's hard work and engagement, we will win the primary, and we will win the general election. And that would be in November 2024. And then the term for a commissioner, according to the Texas statutes and law, and according to Texas law as well, the term is for 4 years. There are no term limits, but it's for 4 years. And that will start the new commissioner role, commissioner-elect, in November, and then the new commissioner will start the term from January 1st, 2025. So that is basically where I would like to take a pause, and we'll come back to it in a minute. But I want to talk about some of the key areas in terms of what I'm intending to do. And at the same time, since today is also Flag Day, so I would like to recognize and wish all of you a happy Flag Day. Yes, that's right. It's June 14. It's the U.S. Flag Day. And can we believe it? It was 1776. That's when the design was approved by the Continental Congress. And then I believe it was President Woodrow Wilson, who in May 1916 basically proclaimed the day of, obviously, this June 14th. I want to make sure that those are correct. Yes, and that's when the President Woodrow Wilson issued in May 1916, in May of 1916, that the Flag Day would be June 14th. And that's since then, since May 1916, we now have the Flag Day, U.S. Flag Day on June 14th. Also, one of the key, I would say, celebration in this month is also Juneteenth. Many of you already know this. Some of you who don't. Juneteenth is also considered as the Freedom's Day or the Emancipation Day because it happened on June 19th. 1865, about 2.5 years when Union forces came in to the Galveston Island, and then they announced and told people that, oh, by the way, 250,000 people, yes, 250,000 African Americans, slaves, who were then told that, by the way, you're free, and that's what the U.S. government and President Lincoln has already signed. So it took almost 2.5 years from the President Lincoln's announcement and when he signed it into law in terms of the freedom for all those people who were enslaved at that time. So 1863 and took 2.5 years. So it also tells me and many of us that Texas sometimes is slow in making progress. But I'm a Texan Democrat, and I want to make sure that we keep things moving. I would like to keep Fort Bend moving forward together, and we will make it happen. Now, a little bit about myself. Who am I? How I started this journey, and in terms of myself, I went to University of Houston. I graduated with Management Information Systems degree, which is obviously Bachelor's of Business Administration, and also I did my MBA in e-business. With my wonderful wife, we have raised a great, wonderful teenage boy. He's now 19, and he went to all the schools here in Fort Bend, from elementary, middle school, and then graduated from Elkins High School. So go Elkins, yay! So we have the best schools in terms of the Fort Bend County is concerned. And that was one of the key reasons decades ago when I moved to Fort Bend and called Fort Bend as my home. And this is my home. And I've been involved with our local communities because when I was going to college at U of H, that's when I started a radio program as well. Yes, I was a radio host and did that for 20 plus years. So many of our community members, especially in the Asian, South Asian communities, I have deep links and ties and connections with our communities. And I was also a TV anchor, TV host as well. So in terms of my public service, in terms of my high profile public life, people know me for decades, from my university school days and even before that, and then even with my community services as a volunteer. And that track record speaks for itself. And you can visit zeeshanisaac.com as well to also ensure that you get more information, because in the interest of time, I would like to also give the opportunity to people to ask any questions and then also share this message with others. There are some what you call messages coming in as well. There's a message from Samir Khan, highly talented and humble gentleman. Thumbs up, Zeeshan Isaac. Well, thank you, Samir, for that. Very kind of you. Really appreciate it. And I'm hoping that you're registered to vote and you will vote for me, because this is our campaign. And then we have Shazeb Rahman. Hello, Zeeshan. Glad to be here. Thank you, Shazeb. Thanks for joining in. And some other messages. Looking forward to this meeting. Excellent. And what I would like to do right now, I also am going to put this comment in the chat box, so people on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live, they can also click on the link and connect with me directly if you want. So you can ask any question as you want by appearing face to face if you would like, or you can just type it in a question like on some of these questions that I just, some of these comments that I just read. And you can definitely put your comments on Facebook or on YouTube. Like I said, you can ask a question here via camera, because that will give you the more uh, engaging experience, let's put it that way. And I hope you guys can see it, because I've just posted it on Facebook, so you can definitely see it there. And you can copy it and then certainly see it on YouTube as well, live, and Twitter live, as we're discussing and talking about the commissioners campaign. So now, after obviously engaging with the communities, and in my professional life, I was a director at American Express. I managed $250 million budget. That's what commissioners do. And again, I will go into the responsibilities of the commissioner, but the first and foremost responsibility and duty of a commissioner is to manage budget. And I've done that. I managed $250 million budget at American Express. I was a director there. And I also have key priorities as accountability, infrastructure, emergency management, because as you know, whoever holds the wallet has the power, and power comes with responsibility. So I want to make sure that that responsibility will always lie with me, and I will have commissioners meetings in my office and through different platforms to engage our voters and our constituents, even after I win the election, monthly, and also on a quarterly basis as well. So that is also very key in terms of ensuring that people know what are our short-term plans, because that's another thing commissioners do. They manage short-term plans. They also manage long-term plans. They also set tax rates, like I mentioned earlier, that lowering the property tax rates is one of my key priorities. And you can hold me accountable and hold me accountable on this campaign promise. Now, with regards to the uh, duties of the commissioner, I would like to share uh, some of the key areas of responsibilities for the Texas commissioner. And this is where I want to make sure that we are looking at the Texas County Commissioners website, and this is the Texas Association of Counties, and the link is also from the Fort Bend County, so you can also access this later on. And I there's a huge responsibility on commissioners, and a lot of people, in fact, when I was not considering politics and when I was not running for commissioner, even at that time when I was a voter and just not running for office and not completely in the political limelight, I didn't even know what commissioners do. So I had to educate myself, and now we're educating each other. I'm now trying to share as much information because, like I mentioned, with experience, with my American Express experience, when I was a director of American Express, when I managed $250 million, just like they trusted me and entrusted me with the millions of dollars of budget, I am asking your trust, because politics is all about trust. And that's where you are going to tell your neighbors, your friends, your family members that, hey, Zeeshan is our guy, and vote for Zeeshan, because it's about us, it's about our children and our grandchildren's future, and it's about our future as well, because our property tax rates are going up. So who is going to put that agenda item in the commissioner's code, and who is going to bring that experience with the private sector working in corporate America? This is where I have been trained, and that experience and decades of experience is now coming in handy, because I will make a local government work for us. And we have made some great progress when we elected Democrats in Fort Bend County, but in precinct 3 we want to make a positive change, and that's where we will make precinct 3 blue. And that's another key important area, because we just elected Justice of the Peace Precinct 3 and a Democrat, and obviously it happened. So Precinct 3 is blue. So make no mistake, Precinct 3 is blue. So that's where I want your help and support, because I win the primary. I will be your next commissioner, God willing, inshallah. And that is the key point here, because I will be everyone's commissioner. But in order to elect the right candidates, we have to vote in the primaries, and a lot of people don't vote in the primaries, and the decision basically is made with the, sometimes few thousands of votes. And in the general election, although we should always vet our candidates, we should always look who we are voting for. But let's be very honest here. Sometimes we just look at DEM, DEM, and REP rep, and we just vote for those candidates. It's just like going to a restaurant. You want to eat something, but they bring something else because it's not on the menu. So if we want to have the right candidates on the menu, we got to start voting in the primaries, folks. And I really applaud people who vote in the primaries. But when you are in this very what you call busy life, people sometimes miss the primaries, and the primaries all are going to be next year in February, and I will continue to keep on reminding you. And that's where we have to remind each other, and we have to show up in big numbers and vote in the primaries, because they are a very specific certain percentage of people, both in both parties, in Democrats and primary, in Democratic primary or in the Republican primary. But if you vote, let's say, in the other primary, you cannot vote in the Democratic primary. So this is also very important. Sometimes people miss out the right candidate because that candidate was sitting in the Democratic primary, and that's where I'll be sitting in. And someone, let's say, votes in the Republican primary, and mostly those are independents. But the independents can swing this election as well at the local level too. So that is also key in terms of sharing that awareness and ensuring that we are telling our independents, and even some of your friends or neighbors who may not be very happy with the other candidates, what have you, vote in our Democratic primary and vote me in, and I will be your next commissioner. So I think that's enough about myself. I would just say that I will fight for you day in and day out, because that's where a lot of people, when I'm meeting with a lot of folks, when I'm going out on the campaign trail, because like I mentioned earlier, I started my campaign and my journey back on April 12th, 2021. And it was the right thing to do. I wanted to make sure that that message is resonating, and it is resonating. And people have been asking me that, hey, Zeeshan, what commissioners do? And I've been telling them and then educating them. And then at the same time, many people are also telling this to me very, I would say, passionately and with excitement and also with concern because of how politics is in our country. that Zeeshan don't change. And I take that very seriously because I know it's the politics, and that's what says the political game. And but since I have managed $250 million budget in the private sector when I was a director of American Express, I know politics. And everyone wants to have the piece of the pie, and it's not easy when you may have to say no to somebody but still want to work with that same person. So how do you build those relationships and engaging partnerships and continue to deliver to the voters? So it is one of the longest job interview that I've been doing in my life, and I'm loving it. I'm excited. I'm meeting so many wonderful people. That's why I wanted to make sure that how can I reach out to even more people, because many of you can share this video link because it will be on Facebook when we will conclude today's session, and it will also be recorded. And it's live, but it's getting recorded in live with the live feed. So everything is now becoming part of the history that you can now share that with those who cannot be here, obviously, right at this time because it's live. But I wanted to make sure that people can ask those questions. So without any delay, the next segment right here is Q&A. And I would like to make sure that people have the opportunity to ask those questions. And I have another comment here. Keep up the good work. Those means friend in Urdu and Hindi. Proud of you. God bless. Thank you, Khurram, Yusuf. I really appreciate it, brother. I really am humbled when I get to see these messages and from everyone, and from our voters, from our friends, from our community members, and when I'm on the campaign trail, because it keeps me going. And the way I look at this is when your heart is in the right place, you cannot fake this stuff. When you have the will, there is a way. When there's a will, there's a way. So that's why I will lower our property tax rates, everyone, and that is the campaign promise I'm making. And I can make that promise because been there, done that in terms of managing the budget and still deliver hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars in cost savings, in profits, and even in cost avoidance to the companies that I have worked for, and American Express, where I was a director and managed $250 million budget. So that corporate America experience, that private sector experience, and then with my experience of being a radio host, TV host for decades and engaging with our communities, Asian, South Asian communities, and now I'm reaching out to white Caucasians, Black, African Americans, Latino, Hispanics, and everyone is straight, gay, family, and people who are single, because in the eyes of the law, everyone is equal. And commissioners, they focus on building bridges, roads, parks. That's where everyone is going to take advantage of it. So that is also very important in terms of staying focused, that what commissioners do. And that's why I've always stayed in the county. I have been here. I don't believe in the politics of DC and what is going on at the national level. Believe in a sense that I have some of my own opinions, and then people who are in DC or even in the Texas state legislature, I respect them, but it's a completely different kind of politics. Here, as a commissioner, I'm focused on working hard day in and day out so I can lower our property tax rates, because that's what we're tasked to do. And we are empowered because that is according to the Texas statute. So how can we not lower our tax rates? We can, because when we look at the city of Stafford, they don't even have property tax rates. So obviously, I'm not suggesting that let's get rid of the property tax rates. The city of Stafford, they don't have property tax rates. A lot of people know. Some people don't even know. But how are they running their city? The Fort Bend County obviously is a huge county, but we can lower our tax rates as well. So accountability, infrastructure, and emergency management, and lowering our property tax rates, those are my key priorities. And don't let anyone deceive you and bring that, I would say, distrust that, oh, how Zeeshan can do this, because all these naysayers, I don't know what kind of interest and what kind of, I would say, special interest groups or or other lobbyists or what have you, or how some of these folks who become the naysayers and not looking in the interest of the voters. So I am going to look in the interest of ourselves in our constituencies, especially constituency of precinct 3 and our voters, that yes, I will lower our property tax rates. And this is very key. So managing the budget is important. And now I would like to make sure that we have some time for questions, but I ensure that we spend enough time, because when I'm going to our party meetings and meeting people, sometimes you only have 2 3 minutes 4 minutes to basically tell you, like the elevator pitch, what have you. But when people like you who have joined, and folks who are using social media, and then they are sharing those videos and my information, because it's our campaign, zeeshanisaq.com, that's our campaign website. That's how the message is getting across, because then people can trust that yes, we can go to zeeshanisaq.com, get the information. If you're not registered to vote, how you can register to vote, because a lot of people, they come from different states, and sometimes they think that they're automatically registered in the state of Texas. No, you have to register yourself. Or even if you were living in a different county and now you change your address, so you need to be voting right here in Fort Bend County, and then especially in precinct 3. So that voter engagement will continue to happen through our Democratic Party, what have you. But me, as your commissioner, next commissioner, as the candidate for Commissioner Precinct 3, I'm running for Commissioner Precinct 3 office. And this is where I'm making it very simple to make sure that people understand these issues. We have so many issues as well in terms of the road traffic as well. A smart financial center on the University and 59, there are great events going on, but then the residents, sometimes they find it harder to come in. There's a huge traffic on the weekends. How can we improve that? There's the mud and lid in terms of the drainage and sewer system, and then our levee improvement district, ensuring that we should never have any inch of water left on the streets. We saw some devastating that has ruined people's lives as well. People, even in the neighborhood where I live, just next door, they came into their brand new houses, and within a week, the flooding that happened, and their houses were flooded. So it is very disheartening to see that. So how can the emergency management and being proactive to build on these plans and then focus on the next 10 years and 50 and 100 years? Climate change is also important. That how should we prepare for it? We are seeing some of these storms, they're coming in. So are we just going to make this a political issue and not going to look at scientifically and not going to plan for it? So short-term, long-term planning, that's what commissioners do. So I will make sure that I will be proactive, not reactive, that, oh, now we are looking at FEMA and issuing those funds, which is fine at that time, but can we not do it the proper way? So I think those are some of the things that are getting lost in terms of how politics has evolved. It has become too partisan. I'm a Democrat, but when I get elected, with your votes and with your blessings, and even those of you who would not vote for me, I will still be your commissioner. I'll be everyone's commissioner. But right now, our focus is to win the primary. So let's look at the comments section again and see what questions are being asked. So what are some of the objectives that you hope to accomplish during your term as our future commissioner? So that's a great question. And the first answer is, the objective here is to lower our tax rates. You also asked during the entire term. So during those 4 years, I want to make sure that the improvement to our levees are done to a level where we do not see any kind of flooding. We also want to see how can we engage our constituents, our voters, not just before the election, during the election season, but also throughout the year. So I will have monthly meetings. So when we are setting our short-term plans and also our long-term plans, our constituents, our voters, our citizens, they are in the know. They know what is going on. It's all about communication, folks, because sometimes when the people, and especially the incumbent, there are things that are not being done properly in precinct 3 in terms of ensuring that how can we open the different lanes, for example, when there is traffic, or improving traffic congestion, and then in terms of the drainage and the issue that we saw just a couple of years ago with the flooding several years ago, and then with the winter freeze, why we do not have the right equipment, even if it is once in 2 3 years when we see the winter freeze, we are completely locked in our homes. This is 2023, ladies and gentlemen. This is not 1923 where we do not have the equipment. We have all these other states, thanks to the nature, and thank God that we don't have the snow, and we don't have to shovel our driveways. But if we see these winter freezes every now and then, we cannot be in a situation where ambulances and even emergency type situations, people cannot be saved, and it's about saving lives as well during that time. So these are critical infrastructure related items that also I'm going to work on. So infrastructure, accountability, emergency management, and lowering our tax rate. So I hope I answered your question. So thank you for that question. I appreciate it. Other questions, if anyone has, please feel free to even use the link that I have shared earlier, and we can certainly answer your questions as well. If you have questions, you can certainly send it to me as well, because this is not the first and last session that we will have. So as you can see on the bottom of this screen, you can reach out via zeeshanisaac.com, or through the YouTube channel, or through Twitter, and you will find zeeshanisaac.com, our campaign website. So it's about us, it's about our children, about our grandchildren's future, and let's stay focused, let's stay positive. I want to make sure that everyone stays united, because minorities are divided, and minorities need to be united. If we want to have a united front, especially I'm talking to people who are Democrats, we cannot have any kind of disunity that I'm already seeing when people are coming to me and talking to me, and I'm always telling them that I will continue to be the uniter for everyone. However, there is still going to be some type of this situation whenever a minorities or someone from a minority who is running for office, some people, and I'll be very blunt here, they don't like that, and I don't know why is that, because I've been living in this country when I was a teenager, and I obviously came as I'm a I would say second generation immigrant. My son, like I said, went to elementary school, middle school, high school right here in Fort Bend. I think we've been blessed in Fort Bend, but as communities grow, sometimes we see that people who cannot accomplish things and cannot get things done, then they tend to get in the way of those who want to accomplish things. So it's very easy to distract people. So I'm not going to let anyone distract myself and us from this very important campaign. That's why I said that I come from the South Asian background, and I see folks who want to divide us. And I see those divisions. Whenever there is a major election, and especially since I have been in the radio business, and that was my hobby, right? Because that was my weekend gig, and I was a TV host. So I've seen those type of issues that sometimes immigrant communities, when they are trying to build their future right here in this country, and they see that yes, now Democrats, we are electing minorities, and we are electing the right folks who are smart and who have deep roots and ties with the communities. And that is where I come into the picture. And this is a blessing where when I'm meeting with so many individuals, so many people within the Democratic Party and people who vote in the primaries, they are appreciating that. So we want to continue to build on that momentum, and we want to send a very positive message to everyone out there that Democrats are united. However, when I say that with optimism, but I would say as a cautiously optimistic person in this particular issue, where I'm already seeing a lot of divisions within the voters, because people are trying to divide and conquer. So I promise you that my campaign will always be positive, will always keep everyone together, and I will be the unifier. And that's why back on April 12th, 2021, I announced my candidacy. And since then, we're making history every day. And next year in February, we will make history together. And those of you who obviously do not want to vote for me, I will just say that I want to earn your respect. Hopefully, you cannot vote for me today, but I know you will vote for me tomorrow. So I am an eternal optimistic person, and that's what I've done throughout my career, and have had a very rewarding career and private life, and now obviously it's a public life. But even in my private life, since I was a radio host and a TV host, and involved as a volunteer with so many local organizations that people know, and you can go and talk to our key individuals and leaders and people who are in the volunteer business that tell us about Zeeshan Ishaq. So I don't want to toot my own horn, although I'm running for office, but I say that with the extreme humility, that I don't have to, literally boast about my volunteer experience as well, because it's about giving back to the community. And at the same time, my decades of experience within the community, they know that Zeeshan means business, and Zeeshan is not going to be one of those people who will be wishy-washy and not going to stand up and fight for everyone's rights. And that's where trust, accountability, and working together with purpose, with unity of purpose, comes into the picture. Because at the end of the day, it's about our children and our grandchildren's future, and it's about our future as well. So if no one has any other questions, let's see. We have, as mentioned earlier in the meeting, Fort Bend County is one of the fastest growing counties. What do you believe can be done to ensure that our resources are utilized more efficiently and not wasted? First and foremost, budget management. When we manage our budgets, we know exactly what are resources coming in and what are obviously expenses, what are the revenue streams. And at the end of the day, we also want to make sure that how are we investing in our future, but at the same time, the bills that we have to pay, for example, different types of salaries that we have to pay, obviously, to the employees of Fort Bend County, and also the various types of services in the public works department as well, that is being done through the county. So that is where we want to make sure that every budget line item, I will go line by line to ensure that are we spending money? What about, are we spending money wisely? And there's no waste. At the same time, we also should look at, and that's where I would focus on, that what are we doing in terms of all the bidding and contracts? I will renegotiate if those contracts that are being fulfilled by the contractors, they have nothing to worry about, because you're meeting your service levels, you're meeting your obligations, those master agreements with the county. And if you're delivering on what you promised, you're good to go. There should be no issue. But if you are cutting corners, and if you are doing any kind of padding to invoicing or what have you, and the bidding process, that takes a lot of due diligence. I don't think we have enough resources right now to even look at that very closely. And this is where I'm going to focus on those hundreds and thousands of millions of dollars of contracts as well, the operational contracts as well, to see where can we renegotiate and save some money and hundreds and thousands of dollars for the county. So that is where the waste can also be highlighted. So what's going well and what's not going well is going to be my focus. Things that are going well, I'm not going to touch that. That's what they say. If nothing is broken, why are we going to touch it? So that's the kind of adage that I live with regards to negotiating or looking at issues. And what's not going well, that's where the voter engagement and those monthly meetings come into the picture as well. Because when I will be having monthly meetings with our voters and quarterly meetings as well, then some of these short-term, long-term planning, we will also see where are those items that are not delivering value to the voters and not delivering value to the citizen and constituents of our precinct 3. I will focus on that. That's where we will eliminate then any kind of wastage that the voters, constituents, they do not want, and there's no added value benefit. Improving the technology infrastructure is also a key area, because that's also one of my background, where I work on the business side of technology, how to improve business, how to make the business more efficient and more focused, process improvements to architecture, infrastructure, and I'm talking about very complex structures. The Fort Bend County in 2023, we are still behind in terms of technology and how it should be in 2024 and beyond. So that will also bring us a lot of cost savings and cost avoidance in terms of looking at our operations and saving some costs there. So that will also help to ensure that we have some a type of cost savings and avoidance, and giving those savings back in the terms of lowering the tax rates as well, bringing in new businesses, new enterprises in precinct 3, and even in Fort Bend County. I will work with our fellow commissioners to make sure that how can I help them, because they have their own strengths and weaknesses. Everyone has them. I may have some weaknesses that I consider opportunities. Now, those strengths that I have, I will take that to the table, to the Commissioner's Code, and ask the Commissioner's Code that how can we look at some of those 100-day agenda that I will have once I get elected with your vote, to make sure that I work with other commissioners, other mayors, with the mayor of Stafford, with the mayor of Missouri City, with the mayor of Sugar Land, and then with the mayor of Houston, because Harris County is the largest county in the nation. It's right adjacent to Fort Bend County, and then other counties as well, to make sure that we are engaged and working with a unity of purpose to deliver on the promises that even they might have made with their constituents, but they perhaps were not able to deliver on it because they didn't find the right expertise. Now, having the commissioner who has that expertise with the private sector and corporate sector, and as being one of the lead negotiators, where I negotiated the contracts with American Express and other major Fortune 100 companies, I know how to even negotiate those tough contracts and what are the leverages. And because in contract negotiations, it's all about having leverage in negotiations. So we have the leverage. We have a lot of leverage right here as a Fort Bend County commissioner, or as the public official or elected official in Fort Bend County. So this is where I will make sure that those type of focused deliverables that add value, that improve our lives in Precinct 3 in Fort Bend County, those types of initiatives and projects that are completed. So that is also something that I wanted to share. So thanks for asking these wonderful questions, ladies and gentlemen, and I really appreciate it. We have another comment here. Pound Zeeshan for commissioner. Hashtag Zeeshan for commissioner. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. See, this is our campaign. So I would like for you to share that campaign and share that hashtag and share this campaign, because it's about our campaign. Remember, this is our country. this is our county, this is our city, and this is our precinct. So if I'm not going to do it, then who is going to do it? And then I'm not just jumping in for the sake of that, oh, this is now the office that can be turned blue, so let me just run for office and just run for the heck of running. And this is not who Zeeshan Isaac has been for decades. And I will continue to keep that promise that people have asked me to keep that promise, and that is that don't change. And Zeeshan Isaac getting into the office, becoming your next commissioner, I will make sure that I deliver on these campaign promises. And that is why this campaign is all about looking at our future, looking at our children and our grandchildren's future. Because one thing that I will tell everyone, and I would want you to also share with all of your friends and family, that a politician will always divide us, but a leader will unite us. And this is where you and I have a huge task in front of us, because politics is all about trust. So you are my advocate. I cannot go and virtually meet. It's impossible. It's virtually impossible to meet 250,000 constituents. That's 250,000 people in precinct 3. It's impossible. So that's why only it's about the democracy is all about participatory democracy, people who participate in the democracy. There are a lot of people who are sitting on the sidelines, and then they come out and vote when they see talent, when they see passion, when they see someone who can fight for them, and that person will not change. So that is who I am. And this is the promise I'm making, that Zeeshan Isaac, I will always fight for you day in and day out as your next commissioner. So we have a great, task ahead of us. We have this beautiful precinct and county, and we want to make sure that together we will make it even much more beautiful. So thank you again. If there are no more questions, I don't want to take much of your time. Hashtag Zeeshan for Commissioner, Shahzeb Rahman, thank you as well. And then all of you who basically didn't get a chance to ask questions, or maybe want to ask questions later, please feel free to send it directly. There are few ways, and very will come to your neighborhood, and I can talk to people. We can have a small town halls, or coffee meetings, or tea meetings, or chai meetings, what have you. And I can come and talk to your neighbors, to the people on the streets. And some of my neighbors also joined, so I thank them as well. And again, a lot of people who may also be viewing this later on. So please share that with them as well. And it's about 50 minutes plus, because I wanted to make sure that this virtual meet and greet series, especially the first one of its kind, covers as many topics as possible. But I'm learning every day from our voters. I'm hearing people also give me an earful, because that's the kind of business I am in, which is great, because I want to know those issues. And people are obviously fed up of politics, and you will find politics in a very different way, especially in Precinct 3 as your next commissioner, because it's about people, it's about us. People are going to be focused on it, and we will make sure, and I will make sure, that I work for you, and I will fight for you day in and day out. So that's my promise. Thank you so much, everyone. And with that, Let me just check real quick if there are any more questions or any other comments. Uh, and I think we're good for now. So again, thank you so much for joining in, and enjoy the rest of the evening. I know it was a hot day today, and I'm glad that we are indoors. And I thought in this hot summer, where sometimes when you do block walking so early as well, or sometimes during these hot days, sometimes people are not too happy to even see you because they want to relax at home. So this is 2023. It's a different way of campaigning as well. But I'm also going and meeting people face to face as well in different events and different gatherings and different functions and ceremonies, or even in different types of other public officials when they're having their kickoffs or their re-election campaigns as well. So we're all in this together. That's my promise. And again, it's a pleasure to meet all of you virtually, and I look forward to meeting with you in person as well. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Bye bye.